Dr. Brian Thornburg, and Father's Day passed this week, and it really let me start to reflect on what it is that we do as dads. I spend a lot of time on moms about the attachment that moms bring to the children and to the family. And here for dads, we are separation. We're teaching the child how to go forth out into the world. But something dawned on me this past week, because you have kids and they're in that 18 to 22 years old. There's always a change of plans. Last week we had a different plan, but now this week I have one heading off to college in another country, one which we knew was going to finish college and then she wants to go to medical school. And then we had two that are ready to leave the house. They just finished high school or finished high school in the last year, and they're both ready to go off and start adulting on their own. That wasn't the plan last week, but this week it is. And I think everybody just reflected on it and spent time. And that's the separation part that I wanted to speak about. It's not just about how the child engages with the outside world in terms of interpersonal relationships. And I'll get back to that in a moment. I also mean the runway that the parents provide in having a comfortable departure for the child to go out into the world. Let me talk about the first one, the interpersonal relationships with people outside of the house. As the child is growing up, they're watching dad, who primarily is the one working outside of the house, and how the dad deals with stress and adversity, all the daily requirements that are needed, and the sacrifices that the dad's making, because the dad, the masculine energy inside of a family unit is about sacrifice. The dad should sacrifice his time, his resources, his abilities to the family so the child can go forth and have the best opportunity, and sacrifice to the mom so that the mom then can provide a proper attachment to the child. Mom's then, of course, is to learn how to release the child, to sacrifice her child off into the world and let the world have the way with the child and the child with the world. So everybody has a role here. Everybody has to sacrifice something. The dad sacrifices his time, his effort to push the family forward. The child sacrifices their wanting whatever they want to do and stay immature to move forward, to meet the demands and the callings of the sacrifices that the parents have made. And then, of course, since the child comes from the mother wants to hold on to the child because it's part of her, but she has to learn to release the child when it's time to release in a loving fashion so the child can go forth and then resume into the cycle, so we don't stop any of the archetypical pattern that we would hope would go forward from having this proper sacrificing among all people. So with the dad moving into the separation through the child, watching the dad's encounters with reality and just daily living, the child is going to then engage. So if dad stays really cool and calm and collected whenever there's a stress and seems to really reflect on it and doesn't have an immediate reactivity to it or spontaneity that could be possibly negative, then the child learns to have that kind of approach because that's the role modeling that has been provided. But if the child sees a father who, when a bill comes that was unexpected, a hospital bill, it wasn't covered by insurance as they had hoped, and the dad starts becoming very aggressive and yelling, and that's what the child learns, how we engage with the outside world. Same thing with the interactions that you might have with the wait staff or somebody in the service industry. Then the child thinks, well, I have a right to be dismissive or to look down on somebody, or I recognize that this is somebody that has a job and we want to be respected in our job. And you can see the explanation that I'm trying to provide here. How does the child learn to interact interpersonally with those people outside of the house? Now, the second part that I just realized here over the last week was the runway that we're providing the child, the ability to stop and look at what each child needs, because I am a big fan in we don't have to go right to college. Not every child is ready to go to right to college. Not every child needs to go to college. I believe that a child should take their need to go forward and put a footprint into the world through either a calling or an adventure should be the primary motivator at these ages so they can feel a soul satisfaction. Now, one of my kids wants to go to medical school. She didn't go the first year right out of high school. She needed a gap year to just decompress, and now she's been a straight A student since then. Another child didn't even want to go to college. Now she has traveled the world, and now she's totally dedicated and ready to go to college, all on her own volition. And that's what's important. We want them to follow that calling, like the first daughter I explained, or the second daughter, which needed adventure. Now she's ready to go into a calling. My next two adults, they both are looking for adventure at this point. They are starting to see the sisters showing them that there could be a calling on their future, so they're not ignorant to what might happen, but they need to have some of that because they're not ready to go to college. And I don't want to push them forward because what are you going to do? You're going to waste money. You're going to collect debt. Then you feel dissatisfied. And there's nothing wrong with having, if if possible, having your parents help you move forward in a gentler way and supporting their needs. So as I muse on the fatherhood, I love giving my kids understanding and love. I love walking around my house in the morning because I like to wake up and be there as each of the kids wakes up for whatever they need to do throughout the day. The high schoolers get up so early and the middle schoolers later, and I'm there for every one of the kids getting up. I'm there having a cup of coffee. I'm doing a little bit of work. I just love spending that time with them. At the end of the day, I see them. I'm making sure that I have lots of touch points with them, but it's in those quiet little moments before anybody gets up and I get to walk around and I just see them quietly sleeping there, or I'll see that maybe one of them did their chores and I didn't have to ask 4 times, and that just kind of puts a little smile on my face. Or I'll see a flower arrangement that my wife has done. It just puts a smile because she's practicing new little artistic styles around the house. And seeing my kids come around yesterday and waking up early so we could go out and take a ride on the wave runners and then run them up to the beach and take a lunch there at the restaurant that's right on the beach. And everybody's having fun, and the jet skis start to move off and drift off the anchor, so we have to go back out. We're just having a good time. And that's what fatherhood's about, is that sacrifice, and then they want to come back and spend time with you. And so God bless everybody. Thank you.